All right, everybody. Rough weekend for a lot of people, a lot of Hog fans. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into this. 3, 2, 1. Yo. Yeah, it's this weekend. This weekend's tough. Maybe you're a Cowboy fan or a fellow Rams fan like myself, and you kind of were able to even out the weekend to some degree. But Hog fans who don't give a damn about the NFL, well, they're still feeling a certain type of way. Brutal Saturday. I don't really even know what else to say. Of course, I mean I do, because we're gonna spend a little bit of time talking a little bit about what happened on Saturday. Again, you guys, if you have any questions or comments, fire away. Special shout out to Steven Hamner from QB Spotlight. Steven and I did a Patreon live chat earlier today, and he was pretty honest about his assessment of Arkansas football so far, the offense rather. And KJ and Dan Enos, we talked about just what exactly he kind of thought was going on. So, yeah, you ought to go watch it if you're a Patreon supporter. If you're not a Patreon supporter, you need to join. Go listen. It's just $4 a month. To the people who – we had a couple people go up to the $8 tier this weekend despite everything that happened this weekend. So I do appreciate all Patreon supporters, but especially those folks that are joining the other tiers. Keep in mind, if you do change your tiers on Tuss Talk with Ty Patreon, you need to make sure you're physically changing the tiers, like you're joining the new tier. That means legendary status if you're giving $20 or more, the $8 and up status, and of course $4 status. Make sure you're in one of those tiers. Rhett says no bowl this year. It's gonna be a year where I'm transitioning to basketball a little bit sooner than I thought. I'll say that for sure. I don't know how else to look at it. Of course, obviously football is what this channel is primarily has covered for years, but basketball's been up there too. Basketball's the number 2 driving part of my content, without a doubt. So we will obviously start transitioning more and more into basketball. I'm getting pretty excited about it, man. Basketball is going to be I think it's going to be a fun year. I really do. It might be a bumpy ride. I think that's kind of been Musselman's kind of his thing. Like, maybe he'll win a game in November that, whatever. Or have some close games in November and fans kind of get a little discouraged. Well, if we're seeing this now, then that means Arkansas is going to be hot flaming garbage. And then you finish where you finished last year in the SEC. Again, talking basketball, talking Eric Musselman. And then you still go to the Sweet 16. So I really do believe that he builds his teams just thinking about tournament. I think that's how he builds all of his teams. Okay. Ty West says Hogs need a coach from Arkansas. They need someone from the same culture. I couldn't disagree more. I appreciate the comment, but if you do that, you're limiting yourself as far as going out. And again, that's down the road, right? Talking about coaching changes is down the road, but that's not a take that I agree with at all. You're going to list. Where was Bobby Petrino from? Houston Nutt worked out, and you had some other coaches who in the past had some kind of connection to the program, right? Ken Hatfield, obviously, Houston Nutt. But no, I couldn't disagree more. You don't need to limit yourself to a coach just from Arkansas. It helps if they're from the region, I agree. But Sam Pittman's from the region. He's from East Oklahoma. I mean, he wasn't that far from the border. I hear what you're saying, and that's not the first time I've heard that, but I couldn't disagree more. I think you need You're limiting yourself greatly if you're just looking in state. That's not to say that there aren't some good options from the region, though. Jeremy McCollum says, "What's up, Ty? Feels like the Pittman era is running out. Love the guy, but I don't think he's what's best long-term for the program." Shout out to the sponsors, Direct Service Overhead, the Garage Door Company. They offer same-day services, quality parts, affordable outcomes. Hundreds of 5-star reviews. I have their link provided for you down below in the description box. They also have their own Discord page. Give them a call today at 501-244-3667. The Mizzou basketball team is building a powerhouse. They're killing it in recruiting. They are killing it in recruiting. And they did pass a law. I talked about this like 2-3 weeks ago. No one knew what I was talking about. I found the link. They did pass a law, something about high school kids being able to get paid the NIL while in high school. Now, that's for in-state kids only, so just keep that in mind. Firing Pittman right now is a very bad idea. Yeah, no one's advocating. Yeah, you don't fire right now would be a horrible time. I agree. I've said it before on here, in fact. Hiring Enos will get Pitt fired. I think I do recall you saying that in a beer talk. Appreciate the comment. Yeah, no one should be advocating to fire him right now. We have to kind of let this thing play out a little bit. We're going to go over some numbers here in just a second. Going to go over some of KJ's analytics. Just a little bit, kind of give you guys a little bit more of a bird's eye view of maybe what's happening. We've done this before. And again, if you're burned out on football content, listen, I want to say this too, really quick. Listen in, okay? You don't have to be looking at the screen. Just listen in. If you got your earbuds in, make sure you close your eyes and you do this with your earbuds, okay? Well, you're not watching the screen right now, but I want you to do this. Listen, most fans, I would argue, like the people that are really searching for Razorback content on YouTube, the vast majority of fans have stopped. Numbers are going to start showing that. Analytics on my side are going to come down. I'm sure Trey Biddy and I are going to talk about that this week if I see him at practice, either this week or next week. If he's there, I'm sure this will be something I might even ask him about. Hey, are you seeing what I'm seeing on the analytical side? Those fans they've let go of the rope. They're done. They're not going to watch any more content, and who could blame them? Meanwhile, you guys are here. You guys are listening. You guys are supporting the channel. You guys are diehard. Maybe some of you are a little bit fair weather and you want to come to complain, and that's fine. You're welcomed and accepted here as well. But you're here. You're watching and listening to this content. So you are the minority of the Razorback fan base, and for that I applaud you. Thank you for being here. And, of course, shout out to the sponsors too. I mean, shout out to Patreon supporters. This is tough times. This is tough times for a content creator who only focuses on the Razorbacks, who doesn't have a network of like CBS Sports, like 247, or has who runs Yahoo or Rivals. I think it's Yahoo that runs Rivals. I don't have that big, massive website behind me. I just started a Facebook page like 2 weeks ago, and I think I've got like 190 followers over there. Like, I'm doing the best I can. I'm trying to create content for you guys, and you're here. You're watching, and you're listening. You're supporting. Maybe you don't always agree with me. That's fine. You guys know how I feel about that. I got thick skin. I always welcome you guys in Discord if you want to hit me up and chat. Hey, Ty, this is what I disagree with you on. Let's do it. Maybe I'm wrong about something, but I appreciate you being here. I've had some comments over the last couple of days. The stream that I did with Don't Read the Comments was actually unbelievable. I had a great time doing that, but we had some comments come through after that where, some folks were, had some things to say. I noticed a couple of comments got deleted. Someone deleted their comments, but I welcome those too. I appreciate you tuning in. Shout out to Don't Read the Comments, by the way. If you're curious, like, hey, I saw you in that studio, Ty. What was going on? That's a real studio. They did a great job. Travis, who owns Direct Service Overhead, actually did a fantastic job in that studio room. His boy Tim, who does that pod with him, is so good on the software side. Those guys are killing it. So please go support them. Go subscribe to their channel. They talk a little bit of Razorback football, but they talk everything. It's really fun. But again, I appreciate you guys. I only make really live content anymore, and YouTube kind of pushes it sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. But Arkansas sports is going to be struggling. So that means analytics are going to come down for – YouTube doesn't like to push live streams anymore. They just don't. So it is what it is, but I'm happy to do it. Okay. All right. Again, had Stephen Hamner on from QB Spotlight earlier. If you're a Patreon supporter, go check that out. Please, if you're a Patreon supporter, consider sticking around, and we're going to have some more of that content for you. Yeah, here we go again, man. Here we go again. Arkansas, the conversation's coming up about replacing the coach. Not even halfway through the season. Here we are again. It's at least this time we're not having this conversation 4 games into the coach's second season. Like, Sam did do a good job of establishing and building a foundation. But the conversation's being had, whether you think it's just fair weather fans or the negative bunch, no matter. It's the conversation's being had, whether you agree with it or not. The narrative out there right now, and it doesn't mean that it's right, but the narrative out there is this thing could be coming to an end. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's not just fans thinking that either. That's people who really don't cover the Razorbacks who are thinking the same thing in the media. There's other pretty prominent channels. They're saying the same thing. It's looking like this thing's coming to an end. Does that mean they're right? Not necessarily. Does that mean, Sam, it's impossible, 100% impossible that they're going to turn this thing around? No, I don't think it's 100% that they're not going to turn it around. No, I certainly believe, especially you look at how the defense played in the second half against A&M. They made right adjustments. Go back and look what they did. I mean, A&M struggled in the second half to a degree. He only gave up 20 points to Bobby Petrino in that offense. That's actually not bad. It's not bad. You know, your offense did you no favors. The offense did you no favors. And it just kind of it sucks. Kate Dreyer says, we love your content, bro. Kate, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Woo pig, baby, till the wheels fall off and some, says Scott Swindle. Yeah. Ty Hudson for OC. Hell, Ty Hudson for President 2024. I don't know about that, bro. I hate that we suck. I hate that we suck bad. I'm riding the season out to the end. Good or bad, woo pig. You know me, Ty. I ain't going nowhere. This is Lone Sportsman Outfitters. Red and white Wednesday night, baby. Oh, I hope y'all are as pumped about basketball. I don't want to do that thing where I'm overhyping it, but I feel like I've been pretty spot on with basketball since Musk got here. I feel like I've been pretty spot on. I like the hire, and then I feel like I've been pretty damn close to what they're doing, and I'm feeling it again, man. Unless Arkansas loses every game for the rest of the season, I don't think it's enough reason for Pittman to go. If this goes poorly next season, I think Yurchek should consider making a change. Says B. NA Beer Talk. Bring on basketball season. I'm excited, man. I did a on-site. Also, shout out to I was going to wait a minute to do the second sponsor read, but I did a on-site live, post-game live at the Odsel Craft Bar and Pizzeria. The Odsel is a sponsor of this page, so shout out to them. On Emma in Springdale. Fantastic pies, great stuff on tap. I really think I'm going to order out some pizza today from the Odsel. I'm kind of craving an Odsel pie. I really am. I think I'm going to hit them up today. But I did an on-site live there for a post game, and I may do another one, assuming they're still. I mean, assuming we're still together, assuming that partnership continues. I hope that it does. They're a great sponsor, but also both my sponsors are Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome too. I just don't see any coaches that would want to come to Arkansas that will be a good fit, says Tanya Henry. I don't want to make this a complete show about just dumping on Pittman. It's time to fire Pittman. It's time to do this. Or time to make a change. I'm not trying to do that. What I am saying is, when he got hired, and please go watch the video. I think I'd said if it wasn't the immediately after he was hired live stream, it might have been a couple videos later. I know I said it. I had someone in Discord back me up when I said it. My own neighbor, who's Crixus in Discord, Alex, he'll tell you I said this when he was hired. Straight up, my words were, this is a risky hire. He's never been a head coach at any level, at this level. Not any level, because he was a head coach at a much lower level. But he's never been a head coach at this level in a Power 5 football, in the SEC or even in the Group of 5. This is a risky hire. At best, I think it's an in-between type hire. Houston Nutt, you might have looked at the time when they brought him back to Arkansas. You could probably look at him, and I'm sure people back then were saying, well, this is kind of an in-between hire. But you were coming from Danny Ford, which was just a mess, who had taken over eventually, actually, for Jack Crow a couple of years later. You could have called every coach you've had since maybe Petrino an in-between type hire. It's very common that it feels like it's very common that Arkansas is always hiring the guy to just build the foundation so that maybe you could set up for the next guy. You look at the basketball program. Mike Anderson was not meant to be an in-between hire. He was the guy who you kind of, he's taking over for Pelfrey. Pelfrey was the in-between hire in basketball, I feel like. Look at his past, right? Pelfrey was not a proven guy. He was on Florida's staff. You brought him in. That felt like a kind of a desperation. Like, here's a guy. Okay, it's maybe he can kind of reestablish things. He really never did. Mike Anderson became an 8-year in-between guy. Now look what Musselman's doing. Now basketball and football, it's unfair to compare, and I'm not trying to, but I think that's what Mike ended up being. It was just an in-between hire that lasted way too long, maybe 2 or 3 years too long. Pittman feels like that, and that's why the title is Here We Go Again. Because it's another in-between hire. It's a hire that we're not even halfway through the year, in year 4, and the conversation is this thing is coming to an end. This thing is done and over with, and it's over. And again, I'm one who says we got to let some games play out first. But as you guys know, the circumstances are rough in the coming weeks. They are brutal. First off, how do you get fans to continue buying merch, going to games? And listen, you could speak with your wallet, and something that Tim brought up was a good point. The season tickets are already sold, right? You've already given them your money. And I agree. I've always said if you have the ability to go, and that's not what I was trying to say. I may not have said it clearly. But what I was trying to say was if you speak with your wallet and buying merch, if there are tickets available from the university, you want to speak with your wallet, that's the ultimate form of democracy is your wallet. Not votes, your wallet. That speaks louder than anything. So if this starts to dwindle, and they do see those gaps, when you've got Mississippi State in town on October 21st and they're zooming over the crowd, and you're halfway through the opening quarter, and there's just gaps of open seats, that's going to have an impact. Now, I agree. Financials are what matter more. They don't really care. Hell, they still play games in Little Rock. It's obvious that they don't care about the way things look. They still play games in Little Rock. It's clear they don't give a damn how it looks. But it will still have an impact. It'll have a long-term impact for fans who are seeing that at home, like, wow, nobody's going to the games. All of a sudden, that hype level and the excitement that you've had for football all offseason, it's dwindling. And again, now you start talking about next year. If they do keep Sam around, let's say, I've said all along, if he goes 5-7, I think he 100% keeps his job. I think the further south of 6 wins that you get, the further south you go, the more unlikely it is that he returns. But let's say he does after a 5-7 season. What kind of changes does he make, and is it going to be enough to create some excitement for his 5th year? And then what do season ticket sales look like? That's the point that I really was trying to make, and I've made that point here before, and in Discord Lives as well. Like long term, that's the goal here. There is such a thing as projections, right, or trajectory. In the trajectory of this program, it's in the toilet. You could be on a 5-game losing streak. BYU was not supposed to be a loss. You played well enough against LSU. You should have won. A&M is really your first ass whooping that doesn't reflect on the stat sheet or doesn't reflect in the final score. 34-22 does not tell the whole story. That offense was cheeks. It was horrible. It was so bad. Your defense held their own in the second half. They really made some proper adjustments. Again, I'm going to go over that number here in just a second. But the reality is, at Ole Miss, defense is highly sus. You guys know we're going to talk about them on Friday. At Bama, maybe the best defense in the SEC. No surprise there. Nick Saban, okay, his offense is poop, but his defense, that's just he's never had a year where both sides of the ball they were bad. Let's just be real. Mississippi State, okay, in Fayetteville on October 21st. Then you're in the Swamp in Gainesville November 4th. Auburn is a toss-up. FIU might even be a toss-up, although you should be favored to win. I think ESPN's Football Power Index has Arkansas, I want to say, at 6-6. I know you're not supposed to pay attention to it. I don't think that was ever meant to be like, oh, hey, no, we think they're going to win, so they're going to win. I think it's just like factoring in probabilities. It's a deep analytical thing. It's not really about, hey, yeah, no, they're going to win. It's just like, here's their odds. So, again, you could say whether or not they're right, the FPI, whether it's right or not. But they do have you. Now, I don't know if that changed. I actually looked at that Sunday morning, so it's possible it's changed since then. Maybe I'll pull that up, too, here in a minute. But what is the narrative going to be if you go 5-7? How do you excite fans? Well, it starts with probably assuming the offense never gets it figured out. It probably starts with a change at coordinator there. But the interesting thing is, like, fans are saying, well, here's the thing, though. Yeah, he's going to keep his job no matter what happens, but he's going to be told he's got to make some big changes. What the hell did he just do this offseason? What do you call that? What? Big changes? What the hell are you talking about? He just made some big changes, whether he wanted to or not. They're not proven, at least on the offensive side of the ball, to be working. No, if they only win 3 games, they're going to keep him. They're just going to press him to make the big change. They're going to have him fire Enos. It'll all be okay. So far, that hire, that big change, hasn't worked out. Now, the defense has. I'm going to say I think the defense, it's at least better than where it was at in this stage of in this stage of the season and where we're at in this day and age in NIL and transfer portal. It's like you've got a shorter leash with all your assistants and your head coach for that matter. But so far, I'd say the defense has been a positive compared to a year ago. But what are you talking about? They're going to press him to make big changes. The only big change that everyone wants is the big change you already made, which was at the OC spot. They're going to force him to make the changes, Ty. He's going to come back, even if they go 3-9, 2-10. If I'm Hunter Yurachek, and I'm not, I can't read his mind. I can't read Sam's mind. I can't read the staff's mind or the players. I don't know if I'm having that conversation. It's more like I'm going to have to give you your walking papers, my man. 3-9, 4-8? No way. No way. Now, we got to get there first. Let's not get in the passing lane and just drive on by at 100 miles an hour just yet. Let's see what happens. I mean, it's pretty obvious where I'm going with this. I think everyone else in the media has already said they see a losing streak coming. I do too. Ole Miss is an interesting matchup. It's going to be at 6:30 at night. They're probably going to be a little drunk, having a good time. They're probably going to be a little bit louder, but I don't think that's a real super hostile environment in Oxford. It's going to be. I don't know what ESPN's saying the over under is, but it's going to be a game. I expect there to probably be the most total points in a game that Arkansas has played so far, and right now, I mean, you look at you gave up 38 to BYU. What do you think Ole Miss is going to do at their place at night? So I mean, I'm just saying, you're going to be facing a 5-game losing streak more than likely coming home. What do you think the attendance is going to look like? Are people still going to buy the merch? Are people still going to buy all the stuff? Are they amped to buy tickets next year? These are the things that they're going to have to weigh. Good news is you're in the SEC, right? You're going to get a piece of that pie. But in terms of the financials, I don't know, guys. I just don't know. Super Chat is up and running. If you really want your comment to be read, I now have they finally gave YouTube. You have I can watch live chat. I can look at top chat, which is just I guess filtering out the spam, I guess. And then there's a fan funding, which shows super chat, super stickers, channel memberships, and gifting, whatever the hell gifting is. So I will not miss any super chats. But I was already batting pretty good. I'm just saying. Addison Brook, who is an Ole Miss fan, forget over under. It's always that is true. You're not wrong about that. You're not wrong. And Arkansas's defense is. I think they are better than LSU's defense, but that's a weird comparison. Ty almost said left lane hammer down. You bite your tongue. I still believe y'all are a dangerous team, says Addison. I think our offense is only dangerous, Addison, because your defense is cheeks. I'm sorry, but I like Ole Miss's offense. I like what you guys are doing. I mean, it's kind of fun to watch y'all, but your defense, y'all and LSU are horrible on defense. Ty looking for who farted. I'm trying to figure out what some of these people are talking about. Like, nah, Ty, he's going to make that big hire. He's going to be forced by Hunter Yurchek to make that big change. Like, what did he just do? And it hasn't worked. For the life of me, I have no clue what our offensive identity is. Mark, you're not wrong, man. Ash says, I know why our offense looked good versus LSU now. I've been telling y'all for weeks. I've been saying it. Their defense is sus. They're not an elite team, and it starts with their defense. They're not. And like I told an angry LSU fan in the postgame show, he commented a day after the postgame show and said that I was giving too much or whatever. I was disrespecting Arkansas, and I was talking too much about how LSU isn't an elite team. They're not. I'm sorry that hurts your feelings. It's just the truth. You're not elite. And Ole Miss showed you why. Arkansas's pitiful offense showed you why. Bobby Swain says 2-5, and his seat's on fire. It is. I mean, if someone in the media says otherwise, I don't know that I would trust what they have to say. I mean, it's got to be cooking. If it's not on fire, it's at least hot. Was what I should say. We are bad right now. This Ole Miss game has been to them what the A&M game has been to us so far. Ash says it reminds me of Bert's last year. Here we go again, man. Here we go again. We're right back where we were just a few years ago. I guess it shouldn't be too shocking if you're making the claim it's the in-between hire, right? But I never thought the Enos and Stephen Hamner, I think we went over this in the live chat earlier, but it is shocking just how we don't know what this team is on the offensive side of the ball other than bad. The only thing Enos brought with him from Maryland is a good red zone percentage. They're doing really good in the red zone, actually. Arkansas is one of the better red zone offenses. But, you're not making a ton of trips there. It's nice to talk about the percentage. I think they're top 15, top 14 in the country in the red zone percentage. I think they're 17 of 18, which is not a great number 5 games in. I mean, it's just not. That's not a good number. If we were in the 20s and we're talking about that would be a different story. This is the Monday after show, after all, so we do need to kind of break down something from what happened on Saturday. The Arkansas defense, I said it, they're in the second half, they did a really good job against A&M. They really did. Interception for a touchdown is how they start things off. And then the next drive, A&M had to settle for a field goal. Drive after that, A&M fumbled. Drive after that, A&M punted. Drive after that, A&M punted, and then they had a missed field goal. They fumbled. It was recovered by Antonio Greer. Let me read that fumble right. That's kind of hard to believe. They had 2 fumble recoveries. Like, you don't fathom that. And then they, of course, we know what they tried to do at the end of the game, and Arkansas's defense stopped them. Again, the defense has been the bright spot this year. It's not all been great. I still think the secondary is a little bit sus. There's still some issues there. I'm wondering how well they adapt to what's about to happen on Saturday night. But I do like, again, this feels like they've at least made an upgrade on the defensive side of the ball. And I think at all levels, maybe. Secondary, I think linebacker play. It seems like no matter who they plug in at linebacker this year, they're going to have a decent game. They're either going to get a pick, they're going to get a fumble recovery, they're going to force a fumble, they're going to make plays around the line of scrimmage, they're going to pressure the quarterback, they're going to get a couple TFLs, they're going to apply some pressure, or they're going to do well out in the flats. You're not seeing a lot of big, gigantic runs on Arkansas. I said they're a bend, don't break. They were in the first half. In the second half, to a degree, I think I was wrong in the second half calling them bend don't break. They weren't. They stood up. The defense has done its job so far. First half, a little bit different, but it's, again, they did score 17 in the opening half, and they did score 17 in the second half. So scoring was still there for A&M. But one of those was a punt return for a touchdown. You had the Anais Smith, 82-yard punt return for a touchdown. So that's really on the special teams. And special teams has mostly been good for Arkansas this year. When you talk about Centennial on punt returns, right? And then Max Fletcher punting the ball. Max Fletcher had, like a 56-yarder, and didn't he have another one go for like 60 yards? 64 yards. But Anais Smith was able to get a little bit of yardage back on that return, if I'm looking at that right. But yeah, and of course you had the punt return for a touchdown. Punt coverage finally had its day where it really they shit the bed a little bit. Scott says, honestly, our defense is fine. I think they're definitely, the secondary is about where I thought they would be. Vastly improved from a year ago, but I still thought they'd be a little bit cheeks. I don't know if they're cheeks or not right now, man. I think they're playing at a pretty good level. I hope I'm dead wrong. I'd love to see that number come up in terms of total yards given up per game. KJ can't play anymore after this year. I think he can. I think he's got another year of eligibility because of the COVID year. I honestly thought Texas A&M was going to run up the score when they called timeout, 4 seconds left in the fourth quarter. It's true Petrino fashion. You're not wrong, Addison. Yeah, that was definitely all Petrino. That was, and we called it on the game companion. Again, if you haven't watched it, I mean, it's going to be long, right? It's 3 or so hours long, but there's some really good moments in that game companion. Of course, we did the post-game show afterwards. Why would KJ come back? Yeah, that's a different argument. I'm just simply saying I'm pretty sure he has that COVID year to come back. If KJ transfers to Ole Miss, we're really screwed. That would be the most Arkansas thing ever. It doesn't get any more Arkansas than that right there. I mean, we'll see what they do. But Bot Magnet says to fire Kennedy now. I said Saturday in the post game, it's time to make a change up front of the offensive line. And I think it just is. I mean, they're going to give him the year, and that's probably fair. I know some of that was, me just having kind of an emotional reaction. I'll own up to it. I did. I had I was pissed. I was so embarrassed by what happened up front on the offensive line. Let's look at KJ's numbers here really quick. KJ, when the pocket was clean, which was not often, he was 8 of 15. He was 8 of 15 when the pocket was clean, 53%. I don't know if that number is completely right. I don't know that he had 15 snaps that were clean. I don't know about that. Under pressure, they've got him at 50%. Not blitzed, he was 83%. When blitzed, he threw 36%. He was 0 for 3 when thrown to the left side of the field. Over the middle, he was actually he did a pretty good job. He only had 2 incompletions. He was 5 for 5 behind the line of scrimmage. I mean, that's the highest percentage throw you're going to make. But between the 10 and 20 yards, between the 10 and about 19-yard mark, he was 2 for 2 for 30 yards there. He was 1 for 1 between the numbers beyond 20 yards, which he was 1 for 1 there, 48 yards and a touchdown. He was 0 for 2, 20 yards or more on the outside right. And he did not complete a single left throw. Nothing. No outside, middle, underneath, nothing. He was 0 for 1, 0 for 2. So he was 0 for 3. So it looks like he only threw to the left side of the field their left side, if they're on offense, 0 for 3. And they didn't complete any in the right. It was all over the middle. Everything that was completed. Again, this is coming from PFF Premium Stats. Well, they automatically renewed me on Friday. That came out of nowhere. It was like $80. It's like, whoa, shit! What the hell? What was that? It was premium. It was PFF Premium that hit. Not good timing, PFF. Play action. KJ was 43% out of play action. He was 60% on no play action. He was 5 for 5 on screen plays, which explains the 5 for 5 behind the line of scrimmage, which that does track. I'm pretty sure that's what he did. I wasn't able to take the same kind of notes being in their studio and interacting with him, which was a lot of fun. I just wasn't able to take my usual notes, but I'm pretty sure that tracks. It was 5 for 5 behind the line of scrimmage off those screen plays. That's just kind of what you expect. KJ does not look comfortable still. And again, we talked about this morning on the Patreon show, on the Patreon Live. He just does not look comfortable. It is square peg, round hole. And I don't think it's all on Enos. I don't think it's all on KJ. I don't think it's all on anybody. Everybody has their, has fault in what's going on in the offense. Now, you could say, well, some more than others, Ty, and that's absolutely right. You're not wrong. We did a poll. We have it's funny, I didn't drop this till last night, and we're already over 600 votes, so you guys need to go take this poll. It's on the community page on Tuss Talk with Ty. But the poll is the biggest negative from Arkansas versus A&M, other than the injuries and the loss, the 174 total yards of offense, which is in second place. Third place is the 4th and 1 run from shotgun. I know there's some valid arguments there. Like, you can't do anything with this bad offensive line anyways. I don't know. I think you get a little bit more inventive and maybe, I don't know, try to line up under center more. But I get it. The offensive line, the interior offensive line's not getting push. I got an idea. Your punter's averaging 50 yards a punt. Maybe punt it. I don't know. That's just a thought. But the first place is the offensive line. What I meant to say was offensive line play, which they gave up 15. I'm pretty sure that's right. It's either 14 or 15. Gave up a ton of TFLs along with 7 sacks. If you're going to sit here and tell me that things are okay, maybe that's the change that Hunter will push him to make, I guess. Replace your offensive line coach. I mean, maybe that helps, but I still think there's a lot of other issues. And then in last place is the defensive line, who had 0 sacks. And had some interesting comments under that one. Of course, one person says, where's the D, all the above? Again, I thought I made that clear in the pinned comment below, but it's no fun just doing a D, all the above, because there were certainly things. There are a couple more things I could have added to that list, but obviously you get capped at 4. So a lot of issues on Saturday, and it's like, yeah, all right, you fix. Maybe you do punt the ball on 4th down. Does that really fix anything? Does that change anything? It might affect the outcome a little bit, especially in the second half. Ty, if a player is physically unable to do what the coach asks, it's the coach's fault. Well, I mean, I think it's a little more complicated than that, Mike. I hear you, and okay, but I think the players certainly have to own up. But I mean, you're not wrong. If you can't get pushed from the interior, you made a change at strength conditioning. That was another big change. We were told that's the biggest change of the year. That's it, man. That's where all the problems are, right there. It's the something's going on with the S&C, man. There was some toxicity. Okay, fine. Make that change. But they're still not getting pushed. And I do think it probably takes time to develop true, just raw strength and muscle and the ability to transform your frame and to really give you enough oomph as far as strength to push SEC defensive linemen around. It doesn't just take a summer and a fall camp to do that. But they're still 4 years in, and you're still struggling to push. You're struggling on 4th down. I don't know. They've converted 1, I think maybe 1 all year. Maybe 2, because they had the fake. Maybe 2 4th downs all year. But they're regardless – either take the field goal if you're within range and with who you have at kicker, It feels like you're in good shape there. The guy's 2 for 2 at 50 yards and beyond. Cam Little is. He's 2 for 2 there. Maybe kick field goals or just punt the damn ball. It's obvious you can't get – so I agree with you, Mike, in that aspect. There's something going on, and that's got to be a reflection of the coaching staff. But sometimes players are not executing. Sometimes guys aren't just doing their job. But, again, the physicality of it, you're not entirely wrong. Tristan says Dan Enos needs to go. Ash wants to know, I wonder what Singleton's thinking, seeing how KJ looks in this system. I haven't even thought of that. I'm going to be real with you. I've not even thought of that yet. Like, we're not going to a bowl game this year. Not a chance, says Tanya Henry. I don't know. I don't know how you do it. I mean, you're going to have to flip the script. You're going to have to implement. I think you got to be faster in your tempo. I think you got to implement more RPO. Maybe just dump play action altogether and just run simply RPO. Try to catch the defense. I don't know. Throw them off guard a little bit. Do something. Maybe you do simplify the offense. Sam kind of talked about that in the postgame. Maybe you do simplify the offense a little bit. Ty, we're stronger than Georgia, at least according to the strength conditioning coach. I think his exact words were maybe they had something like it was either speed. He was either comparing speed or he was comparing, I don't remember, but I do remember that. Something to that extent. Yeah. Punt on first down, says Bobby. Rocket looks good, though. That burst was there, I agree, and I thought he looked good all during practice. I watched him. I watched the running backs. I was down there. I caught some video. I actually uploaded a short on Tuesday, and I'm pretty sure Rocket's on that one. And I may have uploaded it to Facebook as well, but he looked fine to me. He looked fast, and we got to see a little bit of that on Saturday. He's done. Got to check. Ain't hungry no more. And there is something that I think, Mike, I think he's talking about Sam Pittman. Ty, the Razorback offense is getting to me. I was helping my wife hang a picture. And she said I was off by an inch. So I dropped into shotgunning through the hammer to the wrong wall. Fire Enos now. I knew that was coming. I knew something was coming. I really don't. I mean, the marriage between he and KJ is just not there, man. It's again, it's clear to me KJ can't operate this offense, and I guess Enos is just not willing to maybe adapt to play to KJ's strengths a little more. Maybe that's what's going on. I don't know. 3 or 4 wins if we're lucky. Staff getting lazy. Same thing happened to Brett. Well, there was, I remember that rhetoric with Kurt Anderson, offensive line coach. We're definitely going to a bowl. Oh, the toilet bowl. Okay. Boss Hog, I was reading that thinking, where's he going? I'm trying to read through these chats. Again, if you guys, Super Chat is up and running. If you want to, make sure your comments read. Briles doesn't seem so bad now. By the way, total offense for Kendall Briles at TCU. I don't know if you guys want to hear this or not. I think it was tied for 10th in the country. Although his red zone offense is horrible, 122nd in the country, but they probably have – I didn't see the amount of attempts, but I'm sure they have more attempts. They have way more attempts, I'm sure, but they're moving the ball. Someone said Maryland's offense was killing it too. Boy, those 3 schools, Arkansas, Maryland, and TCU made changes at OC, and Arkansas made the wrong choice. Obviously, and again, I know that's something – that has been at this point, it's just obvious. Mr. T-Dub, I can guarantee you, Mr. T-Dub made that claim as soon as they hired Enos. He made that claim, and I think the right thing to do at the time was for people to question why didn't they Was there any offer to anybody else? Were there any feelers put out? Did you at least try? And I know someone's going to laugh and say, why would Dan Mullen come here? But did you at least put out a filler to him? Hey, man, you send something out to a proxy. You send something out to to someone affiliated with who maybe knows his agent, whatever. You reach out. Was there any kind of connection there with not just Mullins, anybody, anyone? Or was it, okay, Kendall Briles is gone, he's entertaining this idea with TCU, and we're going to go straight to Dan Enos at Maryland because I worked with him once before and he calls a good offense. In 2015, that certainly worked out for Brett Bielema, but that has not been the case. I would ask, was there just simply a lack of evaluation that there might be a square peg round hole moment there when you've got KJ Jefferson, who you're going to try and operate a different offense. It's going to be slower pace that doesn't implement the RPO as much. Ty, I seriously think he's talking about Jimmy Smith, running back coach, would be good to start calling plays. He ran the lights out at Cedar Grove, Georgia High School. I mean, you feel like if there was some kind of change, and I don't think it's going to happen, okay? Before I get some comment, it ain't going to happen. They're not going to fire Enos mid-season. And I'm not calling for them to do that. But if they were to go the extreme route, let's say by the time they come back from Mississippi State, they're riding a 5-game losing streak. They've terminated. Maybe it's Dan Enos. They've walked away. Listen, crazier things have happened at other schools. Let's not sit there and act like, who was it a couple of years ago that fired their offensive coordinator 2 games into the year? Who was that? I feel like that was an SEC school, an SEC West school. So crazier things have happened. The difference here is Enos and Sam are boys. But let's say if it did happen and you had to hire someone quick and from within, obviously Sam's not going to call plays. Maybe it is Jimmy Smith. Maybe you do hand it over to him. I'm just saying. Auburn, right? Was it Auburn? Or was it Ed Orgeron's last year? Maybe they fired their coordinator. I think the entire building needs a makeover. In a way that's asking for sympathy. I don't know what you're talking about here. Appreciate the super chat, Tim. Look at that. I'm batting 1,000 already. Look at that. The guys love Jimmy Smith. They do. They react to him really well, and he's pretty funny to be around. I listen to him. I mean, he's not far from me where I'm at when I'll be at practice today. I don't know what area of the field I'm going to concentrate on. I might go watch Kennedy, which is on the opposite side of the field, and it's a little bit of a walk considering you have a very limited amount of time to film. But hopefully we get to see fastball today, and we get to see what's going on with the offense. Maybe the offensive line. I'd like to get some film. I'd like to see what's going on at tight end. Now with Luke Has out for the year, I'm kind of curious who they might rely on. Is it going to be? I think we saw Varkey's Gums actually on Saturday. Maybe they bring Gums up, or do they just put it all on Nathan Bax? Does Shamar Easter get a shot? Are they going to burn Shamar's red shirt? I don't know that he's ready. When you look at him, he looks like a wide receiver, a tall wide receiver. I don't know that he's ready. Again, not being here in the spring had an impact. Come on, Ty, give me that. Who you going to get? You want the who you going to get voice? All right, I'll give it to you. Who you going to get? Is that it? Was that good? That sound all right? Who you going to get, Ty? You fire Sam at the end of the year. Who you going to get? Sports Illustrated put out an article. I don't know who wrote it. It's obviously a Arkansas writer. Don't know who wrote it, but they said that along those lines, like you're going to be short if you do make a change, and that is fair. That is fair to say that if you make a change this year, I would argue, number one, you need to start, if you're Hunter Yurchek and this thing gets out of hand, let's say you do lose to Mississippi State at home and it does look like you're going to be lucky to even get to 4 wins. You got to start putting your fillers out ASAP. The who you going to get is bullshit. You know why? Because you can make that claim 8 years after or 10 years of Houston Nutt. Who you going to get? That was something you heard all the time. people writing into the papers, who you going to get? Now, that was different. Petrino was out there. He wanted out in Atlanta. Jeff Long rolled the dice, and he got him. And then after John L., and I remember there being some rhetoric about, well, you need to go hire former Petrino assistants as the next head coach or whatever. The who you going to get thing came along, and they did manage to get Brett Bielema, who had, at the time was just wildly successful at Wisconsin. 3 straight Rose Bowls. That was a crazy hire at the time. We all know how it ended up. Sometimes that's you just have to roll the dice on the hire. Pittman was a dice roll. Every hire they've made has been a dice roll, going all the way back as long as you could think. Maybe even to Frank Broyles. I don't know, when he was hired way back in the era of black and white television. But that narrative of who you're going to get would be the same next year. Who are you going to get? Who's out there? You're always going to hear that. And listen, sometimes you just have to roll the dice and it works. Sometimes it doesn't. You rolled the dice on Musselman. We had no idea he'd have this level of success. Again, it's not fair to compare sports. I'm just simply putting it out there. Basketball is also fickle. You can roll the dice on someone who does have a good resume and they still come and they're horrible, right? Stan Heath was a really good example of that. He had success at another school and it never translated over here. And obviously we can go on and on about football again, but the who you going to get quote is going to happen even if Sam got 10 years. And oh boy, if that were to happen. But that's always going to be around. But you have to think we could do better. We could be better. This just praying to make a bowl game. Now, the evidence would suggest otherwise. It absolutely would. The evidence would suggest otherwise. They have not been a team where a bowl game in this decade, going back to 2012, it's not a given here. And that is true. But your mindset can't be about where you've been. Your mindset should be where you think you can go. And praying to just get to 6 wins is not where I think anybody thought we would be year 4 under Sam Pittman. So, to the who you going to get, folks, I'm going to tell you, you'd be saying the same damn thing next year. You'd be saying the same damn thing year 6. Sometimes you need to just maybe take a look around. Maybe there's someone out there that could surprise you that wants to come. Now, I'm going to tell you, if you see Arky56 in someone else's chat talking about Barry Lenny Jr., I'm going to have to say let's hold off on that one, okay? I get it. There's a lot of rhetoric that Bielema might be holding him back, and he did well at another job and so on and so forth, but I'm going to hold off on that one. Mr. T-Dub says, I think the offensive rooms are toxic at this point. The offense looked that way at the BYU game. I was sitting right behind the bench, and none of the offense was together. Yeah, I hope that's not the case. When the pretty girl has – hold on. What am I about to read here? I'm not sure I get this. When the pretty girl has been married and divorced 10 times, the problem is most likely not who she married. So are you just saying that Arkansas as a job may not be what we think it is maybe? And that might be true too, but you have had coaches have taste a certain level of success and almost sustain it. Houston Nutt got close. Bobby Petrino, 20 wins in 21 wins in 2 years, I think would have sustained it to a degree. I don't know that you'd be a 10-win team every year. Let's say if he were still here, I don't think that would be the case, but I think you'd certainly be way better off. Taiwan Porter says, I say Bob Stoops. I'm going to have to pass on that one. I don't know, man. I kind of think his good days are behind him. Does Luke transfer? No idea. I hope not. NA Beer Talk says, yeah, Arkansas is not the job we think it is. Yeah, I have to be careful with how I word things because I'm going to have angry DMs, but there are some people who have an inflated sense of what this job is. There are some folks who believe, oh, well, no, yeah, we had Petrino. You could surely get back to, 10 wins a year. It's tough here. You're at a geographical disadvantage when it comes to recruiting, without a doubt. The high school basketball in the state of Arkansas is really good. Maybe even baseball to a degree. Of course, Dave Van Horn can go anywhere in the damn world and go get a recruit. Musselman has done obviously an excellent job, although the high school landscape is going to change in terms of recruiting there. But when it comes to football, and this is why I think the from here on out, I don't know that you want to take more than about, I don't know how many high school prospects you want to bring in. You got to dominate the portal. At a school like Arkansas, you need to dominate the portal. You need to show them, like, look, you're going to come in, you're going to play, you're going to change the trajectory of that position. Dwight McLaughlin's a really good example. Sanders is a good example. Joshua Braun is a good example, who, by the way, graded out pretty decent on PFF this week. You've got some really good examples. I think Varkey's Gums could be in that neighborhood. If he had been here during spring ball, he'd be way further ahead than where he's at. He's, from what I understand, he's still behind just in terms of knowing the offense. Again, I'm gonna probably watch the tight ends today. That's probably where I'm gonna head down and try to film. But no homers, please. I don't have a problem with homers. There's nothing. Listen, if you're a homer, you're a homer. You're a diehard fan. That's fine. I mean, expect a little bit of maybe some whiplash if you say something that's way too homerish, in certain Discords or live chats or Twitter, if you get too homerish about it, right? Is it true you're having Jake Beckett on here? Oh, my gosh. I'm going to no comment on that one. Mike Elko, program builder. Yeah, we're, again, for anyone who is watching this still after the fact, I'm not saying they need to fire Sam now. I'm not saying that at all. But I do – I'm going to stand by if you lose to Mississippi State, because then if you lose to Mississippi State at home, man, you may not win another game. They're not very good. I don't know if they're better than FIU or not. I'm going to say they probably are because they have SEC talent. FIU does not. I know I think they did okay in the portal. I need to go back and look at that again. But if you lose to Mississippi State, you're not winning an SEC game this year, period. So it feels like that Mississippi State game is going to be pivotal. Now, I would take Arkansas right now. I would, even knowing what we know about the offense, even with some of the other woes here and there and whatever's happening. And, again, a lot could happen between now and October 21st. But if you can't beat Mississippi State, to me, that's when Hunter Yurachek has got to put out the fillers. That's it. Like, we're probably not winning another game. If you can't beat Mississippi State and Fayetteville, by the way, if you're on a losing streak, what's the attendance going to be? 45,000? No, it's Fayetteville. It might be above 50, but I don't care where you play this game at. I know the Little Rock people are going to tell me, see, now if we'd played this in Little Rock, it'd be, Ty, we'd do better. No, you wouldn't. Numbers say otherwise. But it's going to get bad if you can't beat Mississippi State. Now, do they have it in them to upset somebody? I'm going to tell you, I think they do. Why? Because they have the talent. They have the roster to do it. It's just a question of whether or not the coaching staff is able to put these guys in the right place. Okay? I don't know. I think they could upset somebody. I really do. I think they have it in them. The personnel's there. I like what's going on the defensive side of the ball. I think the defense gives you a shot. You look at what they did in the second half against A&M. They did it, LSU was the game. We're like, oh, man, but LSU, LSU is probably one of the top 3 offenses in the SEC. They're just not better than Ole Miss. Ole Miss is good on the offensive side of the ball. They're really good. They've got defensive questions as well. So I think they have it in them to upset somebody. Maybe this is where it gets complicated. Okay, well, what if they do win only 5 games, but one of those is Bama? That could change the whole trajectory. Or let's say they only win 4 and one of those is at Florida. Assuming, I don't know, Florida would be ranked at that point. But maybe it's against a ranked Mizzou team. They get that win, and that is true. Like, you get into these situations where, like, okay, well, they only won 4, but they did manage to beat the Crimson Tide in Tuscaloosa. My argument would be this is not a very good a very good Alabama football team, but I digress. That would be something Hunter Yurachek would have to weigh. It is very complicated. It's not as if you just win only 4 games, he's gone. Or if he only wins 5 games, he's gone. It's not that complicated. I stand by if they've managed to find a way to get to 5 wins, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think then you see changes at OC, offensive line coach, and maybe one other spot. I think you got to give Souders, I think you got to give strength conditioning coach another year. It's just not that simple over a summer where, boom, all of a sudden, anyone who played high school athletics knows. It takes some time to build. And, yeah, these guys are a little bit older, but it takes a little bit of time. It's not one off season where a strength conditioning coach is going to change everything or change the landscape of what you're doing in the weight room. That's just not how it works. It might take a couple of years to build that up. That's why typically you don't see strength conditioning coaches terminated after 1 year. That's pretty rare, depending on the circumstances. So, yeah. All right. That is going to do it. Shout out to again, Patreon supporters. Let me see. I want to double check my, yeah. Okay. We got the super chats in. I got those. I'm batting 1,000 there. We're doing good. All right. I'm sorry I didn't read everybody's comments. We had a lot going on. Make sure you guys like, share. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe. I know it seems really negative right now. It's really bad. There are some bright spots. Special teams. It's weird to say this. It's a bright spot. I think the defense is going in the right direction. I would love to see what happens. That's something I'm going to keep an eye on, is the defense. I think the offense could become more effective, but they got to make massive changes. I mean, big changes. But you have the personnel. And that's why a part of me is so confused and why I had to put in the title, Here We Go Again. Why are we here? We're better than this. You were better than this under Chad Morris in terms of what you had on the roster. You were better than this than what you had the last 2 years under Bielema, and here we are again. We need to change the narrative, and it starts with the staff and the product on the field. Okay, that's it. Everybody, appreciate you. Again, like, share, subscribe. Shout out to Direct Service Overhead, the Garage Door Company. Operate in Central Arkansas and Northwest Arkansas. If you have any questions about your garage door, if you got a ding or some damage, whatever, they got your back. And, of course, the Odd Soul Craft Bar and Pizzeria, best pies around. I'm about to call them and put it in an order as we speak. But fantastic staff, great environment, good stuff on tap. So go to the Odd Soul. If you're in town soon or if you live up here, go check it out. Tell them Ty Hudson sent you from the Tuss Talk with Ty live show. All right, we'll be back this week. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit the notification bell. I appreciate you guys. I really do. Patreon supporters, don't forget that video only you can watch. It is available. It's myself and QB Spotlight's Stephen Hamner talking about the offense so far. Okay? All right. I'll see you guys later on in the week. Have a good day.